Good morning, everyone. Myself, Dr. M. Sadish Kumar. I'm working as an IQAC coordinator, and I'm also the department head for Department of Pharmacology at Bapatla College of Pharmacy. So, in this FDP program, I would like to give a presentation on creation of a researcher profile for maximizing research impact as well as identity. So I think most of you, since seniors are there and freshers are also there in this participant list, I would like to know, or I would like to ask, have you heard of this term researcher profile, or have you heard of this term research identity? I think some of you have the answer, and instead of asking it as, are you aware of the term researcher profile or research identity? If I ask you, do you have a Google Scholar account? Do you have a ResearchGate profile? So then most of you will say, yes, we have a Google Scholar profile, and we have a ResearchGate profile, and some of you may have many other research profiles as well. So these sort of research profiles like Google Scholar or ResearchGate or Publance, these sort of research identity related profiles are called as researcher profiles. So before going into this particular topic, related to this, I have two questions. What are the impacts or what are the true benefits of academic research? That means we all are in the academic side. We do involve in academic research. So what are the impact and true benefits of this academic research? And what are the tools which we can use to measure this? So this is the question. And for the first part of this question, I have given some options. These are some of the options only. Some of us or some of them do this academic research for the purpose of promotion. Some of us do this for increment purpose. Sometimes promotion together with increment will be the reason for getting actively involved in academic research. Some of them do this academic research also for getting some awards. They may be interested in getting some recognitions. They may be interested in obtaining fellowship by doing these sort of academic research activities. Not only academic research, but any research activities related to our profession. Likewise, the third important reason which I suggest is that some of them do these sort of research activities for finding new opportunities. Whenever I say new opportunities, it may be related to pursuing higher studies. That means a faculty who has a master's degree qualification, by doing these sort of research activities, can do their PhD. The faculty members who have their PhD degrees, by doing these sort of research activities, they may think of postdoctoral fellowship and other things. So whenever we speak about opportunities, one major area which we can obtain is higher studies. Likewise, some of them may have a preferred job as the opportunity for what they are looking for. For example, a faculty who is working for a college which is not accredited by NBA, NAC, or which doesn't have a good NIRF ranking, will be looking for a job in an NBA accredited college, or he or she may be looking for a job in a NAC accredited college or in an autonomous college. or they may think for an opportunity in a private university or in a government university, or they may think for a government job. So these research activities sometimes can help us to find the preferred opportunities related to higher studies as well as to the preferred job as well. Some of the faculty or some of the researchers take up these sort of research activities for their self-satisfaction. They may not be interested with promotion, increment, awards, opportunities. They may consider self-satisfaction as one of the major reasons for getting involved in research. And in very few cases or in very rare cases, some of us or some of them get involved in these sort of research activities because of compulsion. That means if you want to survive in this college or if you want to survive in this university, you have to get involved in research. So you have to show some research outputs. So when we are compelled to do so, some of them, though they may not be wholeheartedly involved, but still they take part in these sort of research activities. So I have given few options, and there can be many more options like this for why a faculty has to get involved in academic research or any sort of research activity in an organization or in an institution. Whenever I say an institution, it automatically refers to a non-accredited college. It can be an autonomous college. It can be a college which is accredited by one or two agencies. It can apply for a private university or it may apply for even a government university. So the first part of the question was given with some options, and I think you might have understood all this option, and in your mind you may also have other options as well. Now I'm not waiting for the options from your side, because you start thinking about these options. Now I'll go to the second part of this question. Whenever we say that we are involved in academic research or any research activities in general, how our involvement in these activities are being measured. So even for that, there are some options. So the tools by which the research activities are being measured are generally measured in terms of patents by the faculty members, and most of the times our research activities are measured in terms of publications. Though to some extent paper presentations are also involved, but mainly we speak about publications. So whenever we speak about publications, our research activities are generally measured by means of the journal quality. So in which journal we publish our papers. Sometimes we are measured by the impact factor of that particular journal in which we publish an article. Sometimes the researchers are also being measured by the means of citations they have for their articles. Sometimes H index are given more preference. Sometimes the brand value of the publishers or their quality serves as a tool for measuring the publication strength. And sometimes if we publish in an open access journal, it is given more weightage than a non-open access journal. So these are some of the options by which our research activities are measured. Though patents are not that much common, and most of our research activities are are being measured with the help of publications and paper presentations. But very recently, even patents are also is becoming more and more common among all the researchers. So though I have highlighted patents, publications and presentations as some of the tools for evaluating our research activities, there are many other tools or there are many other criterions by which our research activities can be measured. So that is why I have raised the question, any other. So now it is left to you, like what is your opinion? In what terms are our research activities are being measured? You can think about it and you can add to these options whatever I have given. So with this question, I'll go to my next slide. So with the continuation of the question what I asked in my previous slide, that is, what are the impact or what are the true benefits of doing an academic research or any research activity in a college or in an university? And how do we measure all this? I have given some options in the previous slide. But among those options, I want to take some options and to answer from my personal opinion. So before I give my answer, I have given the images of three of our fellow researchers who are related to pharmacy field. And for some of you, these three faces may be known. For some, one or two of these personalities may be known or researchers may be known. For some of you, these persons may be very close to you also. So my question is, can you identify these three researchers? And if you have the answers, you can unmute yourself, you can switch on your video and then you can say the names of these researchers. Or even you can type in the chat box. Can you identify these researchers shown in the
Dr. T.
screen?
Gopalakrishna sir.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you. The other two?
Professor Shiva Reddy.
Yeah. Okay. So the second person is identified. What about the third person, sir? Okay. So it is quite easy to identify these two people. And maybe the third one is little tricky and little unknown. We
Dr.
will,
Bijo, sir.
sir?
Dr. Bijo.
Dr. Bijo.
Yeah, that's one.
Yes, yes, ma'am. I think ma'am has identified the third researcher as well. So I will go with the order. First one is Dr. Bijo Matthew. Second one is Shiva Reddy sir. And third one is Professor T. G.K. Murthy sir. So you may wondering why I kept these three researchers' photo under this particular question. What is the real impact or what is the true benefit of doing any research activity? And how do we measure this? So now you have identified these personalities. Now I'll justify why I kept these three photos at the last slide or at the last part of my presentation. I'll go ahead with the next slide. Now, I said we all are involved in academic research, not only academic research. Whenever I use the word academic research, it actually means that we guide some undergraduate project, we guide some PG project. Sometimes senior faculty members can be PhD research supervisors as well. So whenever we speak about academic research, it is related to a B pharmacy project, M pharmacy project, or a doctoral thesis, like these sort of things. But other than this academic research, there are many other research activities which are being carried out by the faculty members. And to name a few is something which is listed in this particular slide. In general, any academician who is working for a private pharmacy college or who is working for a private university or a government university produces these sort of research outputs. To start with, first one is thesis or dissertation. So everyone knows this. Being a faculty member, sometimes we may guide an UG, PG or a PhD project or PhD work. So the thesis or the dissertations which are being generated acts as one of the tools for our research activities. It is a measure of our research activity. So thesis or dissertation is the first research output. Second, after doing any academic research activity or any research activity, the data, whatever we obtain from this activity at suitable platforms, it is being presented in the conferences. These conferences may be at different levels, starting with a conference which is organized by a nearby college to in the nearby zone, district, state, nation-wise, sometimes even international-wise. So based on whatever research activity which we have done or which we have supervised, we may present the data in the conferences at different levels. Earlier, it is used to be only going and presenting oral paper presentations, and the other important or other common platform was mode of presentation was like, other than oral, poster were very common many years back. But these poster presentations are few years back replaced by e-poster mode. And now all these things are now outdated by the help of COVID. Now I think so, oral presentations and e-poster or poster will be now replaced by webinar sort of presentations. So even e-conferences will pick up, and though it is already there, but still it will come into full effect. I have used a word proceedings as well. Most of you may be knowing what is the meaning of this conference proceeding. So it's not just presenting a paper and then getting a certificate, sometimes even getting an award. But most important point is that whenever we attend these sort of conferences at the national level or at the international level, we have to make sure that these conferences also produce conference proceedings. And it's not just a conference proceedings alone. This conference proceeding should be or could be tied up with some leading journals, indexed journals, and also associated with the leading publishing houses. And it should have a book number, an ISBN number. So these sort of ISSN number or ISBN number containing conference proceedings will definitely help us to showcase our research outputs. So it's not just conference presentations alone, but along with conference proceedings, that too in a Scopus or a Web of Science indexed journal or anything more than this with respect to quality will be a best option. Now the third research output is, sometimes some organization do conduct this exhibits, and they also conduct certain events to showcase our research outputs. That means you carry your product or you carry your model, or you go and explain your process in this exhibition or in this events and show that, yes, this is the innovative product which I have developed. So when you exhibit your finding, that also is considered to be a research output, because these events or exhibits are also generally covered both audio visually. So therefore, exhibitions and events in which a product or a process or a model is being exposed also can be considered as one of the research output tools. And some of us, or some of them, try to write an article in a newspaper. It is not limited to a language paper alone. It can be an English news daily, or it can be a regional language paper. So some of us may try to write an article in a newspaper related to our research activity. Sometimes we may publish it in a pharmacy related magazine or a general magazine also. Some of us are sometimes familiar in writing an article in a blog, sometimes in a common platform, or sometimes of their own blog as well. So even by writing in a newspaper, magazine, or in a blog also, still your research or data can be considered as a research output. And the most common and most familiar one is research output in terms of journal articles. So whenever we speak about journal articles, only two are very common. Either we speak about review articles or we speak about research articles. Among these two also, research articles in journals are given more importance rather than review articles. Yes, of course, there is some importance given to research articles over the other type of articles, but still there are opportunities for us to try and write some review article as well. There are some journals with high impact factor which takes only review articles alone. Even we can try. Or there may be a journal which has the scope of publishing both review as well as research. Sometimes research articles may be of a huge challenge. In that case, we can try the review article in the same journals. Similarly, other than these two categories or other than these two types of journal articles, there are few more which some of you might have already tried and some of you may be very successful in it. And those three are highlighted here: short communications, case reports, and if you are a very senior faculty or if you have enough experience or if you are an expert in that particular area, you may have an opportunity to write an editorial article or editorial content for a particular issue of a journal. So of course, research is to be given more importance, but we can also try review, we can try short communications, we can try case reports, editorial, and I'm not saying only these are the only types. That's why I've used the word etc. There are many other types which varies from journal to journal. Therefore, you can try all those type of journal articles. So journal articles of whatever type it is considered as one of the research output, and it is one of the major tool for measuring our research activity. And for the past few years, books are also considered to be one of the important tools related to research outputs. These books may be authored by only one particular person. Sometimes these books may be jointly authored, maybe like 2 or 3 persons who are expert in a particular field can come together and then jointly author a book. Sometimes, even though we don't write that book completely, either alone or jointly, sometimes after some years of experience and after proving our authorship skills, we can be an editor of a particular book. And being an editor, we also can write 1 or 2 chapters, and we can give opportunities for many other authors to write some specific chapters related to that particular title. And those books are called as edited books. If we don't try at these three levels, the very simple option available for anyone who have not tried this particular option is first to start writing a book chapter. That means get the permission to write only one particular chapter in a particular book. Maybe it may be of 25 to 30 pages. You write one topic, one chapter in a authored textbook or a jointly authored textbook or an edited book. And after getting enough experience and proving yourself in writing this book chapter without much plagiarism, then you can ask a publishing house to give you permission or give you an opportunity to author a textbook by yourself or jointly, or at least to be an editor of a book. So whenever we speak about books, again, when it comes to quality, it is not just any publisher like that. Nowadays, importance is given to quality publishing groups. Say, for example, you write something with Elsewhere, or you write something with Bentham House, or you write something with Wiley. So, like you can try these sort of a reputed publishing house. It doesn't mean that you should not try a national level or a local books. Anyhow, everybody will have a humble beginning. They will try one or two, but keep in mind that whenever you are writing these sort of books, without any discrimination between a national level publishing house or an international reputed publishing house, first start trying, then slowly improvise, and then try to look for writing a book or a book chapter from a reputed publishing house. So books are one of the options. Next one is, other than academic research, there are many other type of research activities which faculty members can be involved. Some of them are like collaborative research. So most of you may be knowing what is the meaning of collaborative research. That you may combine with another faculty who is working for another pharmacy college or any other college of any other discipline or with an university, or sometimes you may combine with a researcher who is in abroad, and then you can do a collaborative research between yourself. So it's not limited to one or two people. In the name of collaboration, it can be many more getting involved in this set of collaborative research. These collaborative research activities are being carried out at the individual levels, sometimes with the permission of the college, sometimes through the college itself. These sort of collaborative research activities are also being carried out. So it's up to your wish. If you have the option, you can do it on the individual level. You can do it as a group between the institutions or through the institutions as well. The other type of research activity is consultancy research. So it is mostly by the name of money being involved. That means somebody pays for this particular activity. Sometimes even they don't pay in terms of money. Sometimes they do provide some requirements, maybe like consumables, drugs or chemicals. Sometimes a honorary consultancy work also can be carried out. So this consultancy may sometimes involve money involved, sometimes it may not involve money, sometimes only drugs, only on mutual respect or on mutual support they may be doing it. So still it will be considered as consultancy. Whenever we use the word consultancy, it mostly refers to the research activity which is sponsored by an industry or a non-governmental organization, or sometimes even some governments also may give this sort of activities. The third important type among this is a sponsored research or a funded research, which is usually related to research grants obtained from the governmental agencies, like a minor or a major research project from UGC, an AACT project, DBT, DST, CSIR, ICMR. Like this, there are many governmental agencies which time to time makes calls for this sponsored or funded research. So basically, these three are different. Collaborative research, consultancy research, sponsored or funded research are different from one another. So as a faculty member who is working in a private or a government pharmacy college or university, we need to try all these categories of research. We need to get some collaborative research. We need to do some consultancy research. And it is very important. We should try to get some sort of a sponsored or a funded research activity. Next is patents. Until few years, very few people used to at least file a patent. Some publish it. For some of them, patents may be granted. For past few years or in recent years, almost every single private pharmacy college also is trying to get these patents at least filed by their faculty members. Then of course, to publish or to get it granted. So patent is one area each one of the faculty member has to try at least. First, we should at least know the process. Then we need to try and try to get it as well. So patent is one important area which we have to explore, and I'm sure that most of you who are listening might have already obtained it, irrespective of your experience level. The last one which I want to highlight is it can be an award, or it can be a recognition, or it may be a research fellowship, which can be considered as a research output. That means a person who is honored with a research award, maybe like Young Scientist Award. These sort of research awards, which are conferred by reputed institutions or organizations, should be our primary focus. Sometimes these awards are constituted, are being awarded by the state government, sometimes by the different central government organizations, sometimes by reputed international organizations. So there are many controversies, sometimes many opportunities related to these sort of awards. It's left to the individual's perception. What sort of an award will give you a real reputation? You consider that and you do accordingly, or you try to get it accordingly. Or some of us, or some of them, can try to do their activity genuinely, keep on doing these sort of activities. Someday or other, it may get recognized by the individuals or by these organizations, and they may get awarded, or they may be recognized for their quality research activities. Sometimes, if we plan and if we do it correctly, we may be able to obtain fellowship at different levels, maybe state-wise, national-wise, or even by the international organizations or agencies as well. So whatever I have highlighted here is just few options, but there are many more other than whatever I have listed. You can think yourself and what are all the different types of research outputs which are not highlighted here or which is not touched here, you can also explore further, or you might have already explored. So you can share that particular knowledge with your own faculty members, or whenever you get an opportunity to express these sort of research outputs to the fellow faculty, please do that as well. Okay. So now there is another one more content which I would like to highlight here. Why research is given more importance in a college or at the university levels? Now, every one of us will be aware that research is gaining more importance because of the accreditations and because of the university rankings, college or university rankings, which are being in the limelight very recently. Until now, only universities or very few colleges were trying to get accredited and trying to get university rankings. But because of the government policies, especially policies of both central government as well as state government with respect to National Education Policy 2020 or any other before that also, there are many rankings coming into pictures. These rankings may be sometimes related to the college level, or sometimes it may be related to the university level. So I have highlighted three important categories. First one is the major international rankings. For some of you, these are very familiar terms. For some of you, it may be new. But those three important international rankings are termed as QS World University Rankings. Second one is Times Higher Education World University Rankings, abbreviated as the. And the third one is Academic Ranking of World Universities. There are many other international rankings as well, but these three, at least in my opinion, is of very common. QS, Times ranking, and academic ranking of world universities. Other than these three international rankings, there are many other global rankings for colleges and university. A long list is there, but I am presenting four important global rankings. Again, at least in my personal opinion. First one is Reuters World Top 100 Innovative Universities. As the title indicates, it's more towards innovations. And most of us will be aware of the brand Nature. So there is one global ranking for college and university, which is called Nature Index rankings. The other one is a ranking which is given by Elsevier Group, Saiwal, and the fourth one is Timago Institutional Rankings. So among many other global rankings, in my personal opinion, these four are also equally important, or considered to be a reputed global rankings for colleges, or for sometimes only for universities only. Kindly go through all these rankings whenever you have free time. You will get to know how these rankings are done, on what basis it has been done. And as a faculty, I want to say that going through all this ranking is not just to get an idea about this ranking, but slowly in our mind, we also may start thinking about getting an opportunity to do our higher studies, or to do some research activity, or to be very precise, if we start looking into all these rankings if you start looking into the contents of these websites, slowly, one day or other, we will start thinking about to go and work for these sort of universities. So it is up to us just to get only an idea about the rankings or the criterions for this rankings, or really to get an opportunity to do our higher studies or to go and work for these sort of universities. These will definitely bring change in our perceptions. So for many such reasons, kindly go through these rankings, not just these rankings alone, by seeing who is which is the more top one or top two institution or university. Later, go and check that particular university. Check whether pharmacy is offered by that particular university. Check what sort of research activities, what sort of patents, what sort of research output they do provide. Slowly, you will get imbibed into this particular contents. So other than these international rankings, it is very important, or it is very need to emphasize the Indian rankings as well. Government of India has introduced this NIRF rankings. So as a faculty, every one of us will be aware of what is the full form of this NIRF. This is basically being maintained by MHRD, and similarly for innovation alone, or to be very precise, with emphasis on innovations, there is another one more ranking also given by the name of ARIIA. You look for the full term of these two. This second Indian ranking, ARIIA, is being offered by Ministry of Education. So both MHRD and MOE, Ministry of Education, both of them have this. But among these two also, NIRF is currently given more weightage for ranking Indian institutions. There are many disciplines available, out of which pharmacy is one of the important disciplines in this NIRF rankings. Kindly go through it by yourself. You'll get to know more about this. Okay, so then, since I have said there are rankings and there are some accreditations which acts as the actual reasons for emphasis on research, I would like to touch these three mainly. Why research is nowadays given more importance? Because to get a good NIRF rank, to get NBA accreditation, to get NAC accreditation, to get autonomous status for the colleges. So for all this purpose, nowadays research is given more importance in the pharmacy colleges or the universities which offer pharmacy programs. So I would like to touch these three: NIRF, NBA and NAC. You can see here, among different criterions for getting NIRF ranking, 30% weightage is given for research and professional practice. 30% weightage. Within this 30% weightage, there are three important contents or three important sub-criterions. First one is that the college has to showcase the combined metric of publication. That is basically the college should have good publications for which 35 marks is given. It's not just the number of publication alone. Second important sub-criterion is what is the quality of publications. For the quality, again 35 marks is given. And third, Any other intellectual property rights which is owned by that institution or by the faculty, or especially if that institution has produced any patents in that year of assessment. So whether the institution has any patents published or whether any patents has been already granted to the faculty or to the institution. Based on that, 15 marks is being awarded. And not only these three, some projects, professional practice, and some of the executive development programs, which is organized by the institution, also has some weightage. But whenever we speak about research, more than the point D, the number of publications, quality of publications, and the patents published or granted is given more importance. I need to highlight one important point here. In NIRF ranking, the number of publications, quality of publications, patents published or granted in the assessment year, all these are not something which is claimed by the institution. The NIRF organization itself conducts or collects this data about an institution or the faculty working in that particular institution through the third party sources. That means we cannot claim, but automatically data, whatever is available with respect to number, quality, patents published or granted, everything will be obtained by this NIRF agency through the third party sources. I'll explain this later, but at least understand that number, quality, patents, some professional development program gives 30% weightage for a college or an university's NIRF rank in the pharmacy discipline. Just keep an idea on this. Now you can see a table here. I have given the NIRF 2020 ranking for pharmacy discipline, and most of you might have already gone through this. There are 5 criterions, out of which the second one, which we have discussed in the previous slide, is focused here. RPC, research and professional component. You can see here I have highlighted top 6 ranked NIRF ranked institutions offering pharmacy program. And of course, for the year 2020, Jamia Hamdard is ranked 1, Punjab University 2, Naipar Mohali 3rd, Institute of Chemical Technology Mumbai 4, Naipar Hyderabad 5, and PITS Pilani is at 6. Under each of this criterion, whatever percentage they have obtained, it has been given here. You can see mainly the second criterion, second column, RPC. The mark for which it is being, the percentile is 100. And you can see Jamia Hamdard has scored 85.18% in the research activities, research and professional practice. Punjab University with 83.43, Naipar Mohali with 61.99, ICT Mumbai with 65.11, Naipar Hyderabad with 57.70 and 60.82. And if you see the slide, I have highlighted 4 important values with red color. Naipar Mohali, which has 3rd rank in the NIRF, has 61.99 percentage or percentile in case of research and professional practice. Whereas when it comes to research, ICT Mumbai has a much higher percentage than Naipar Mohali. So you can see 65.11 against the third ranked Naipur Mohali. Similarly, you can see rank number 5, Naipur Hyderabad compared with BITS Pilani. BITS Pilani, which is in rank number 6, has much higher percentage in terms of rank, in terms of research when compared with Naipur Hyderabad. There are many questions, there are many doubts regarding all this. I'm not touching into all those things, but at least consider, or at least you will be able to understand that with the data presented here, comparatively, research is bit challengeful or more challenging when compared with all the other 3 or 4 criterions. Whenever I say 3 or 4 criterions, similar to research, perception of that particular institution is again a big challenge for all these institutions. Most of the NRF ranked institutions, especially in top 75, they find a huge challenge in terms of getting required percentage in the research as well as in the perception criterion. Because these two criterions are mainly the data is obtained either from the third party sources. Whenever you have free time, go to NRF website, check pharmacy 2020 rankings, select all the 75 institutions at a time, look for universities, look for autonomous colleges, look for private institutions. You will get to know about different data. So again, I'm saying there are some doubts, there are some issues regarding how this is being calculated. I'm not touching that particular part, but as a faculty, it's our duty or out of our interest, we can look into this NIRF ranking. You can see with state-wise, what are all the institutions which are listed from the state to which we belong. We can also see national-wise data as well. So just I'm giving only the glimpse of NIRF 2020 ranking. Whenever you have time, you also look into the top 75 ranking as well. Now I'll highlight what is there with respect to NAC. So though I have touched health sciences, it may be sometimes non-health sciences as well. But to get an idea how research is given importance in terms of NAC accreditation, 120 mark is being awarded under the criterion 3, which has both research, innovations, and some extension activities. Again, out of these 3, which comes under the same criterion, extension can be left out. We can focus on research and innovations. Just I will rush through this. Under the criterion 3 of NAC, first one is research mobilization for research, resource mobilization for research, which is given 17 marks, out of which the number of faculty who are recognized as PG or PhD research guides, 6 marks is given. Though PG is also taken into account, but more weightage is given for recognized PhD research guides. Second sub-criterion is the number of faculty who are awarded with national or international fellowships, or the number of faculty who are provided with a financial support for advanced studies or for doing some collaborative research or even for participation in the conferences at the national level or at the international level. So all these components together is given 6 marks. And third one is The number of research projects, because it is a health sciences document, it also is relating with clinical trial, but we can consider the number of research projects which are funded by the government or by the industry or non-governmental agencies. So all these three together, the number of projects which is handled by the institution has 5 marks. And within the third criterion, 3.2 is the innovation ecosystem for which 10 mark is given. If the college has an incubation center and through this incubation center, if the college is carrying out many activities, for that 5 marks is given. And under the innovation ecosystem, if the college is conducting workshops or seminars related to any of these themes like intellectual property rights, research methodologies, good clinical practice, good laboratory practice, good documentary practices, how to write research grants, how to write a research protocol. Whenever we organize any workshops or seminars for supporting industry, academia, collaborations, all these are given 5 marks weightage. And under sub-criterion 3.3, which is again very important, research publication and awards. The college has some code of ethics for research document, 5 mark is given. Just we need to create a policy document and then we have to implement it, for which 5 mark is given. And again, the faculty who are recognized as PG or PhD guides by the respective universities again is given weightage. The number of papers which are published in the UGC CARE list, especially not just only in the UGC CARE list, but which are present in the Scopus, Web of Science or PubMed indexed journals, is again given a weightage. So as a faculty, whenever we think of publishing, at least we have to consider these 3 words: Scopus, Web of Science, PubMed, and UGC CARE list indexed journals. You can also look further into this. I don't want to elaborate. And again, within the third sub-criterion, the number of books or book chapters which are edited, or books which are published, or papers which are published in national or international conference proceedings, but that are associated with the UGC CARE list, or with Scopus, or with Web of Science, or with PubMed, is given weightage. It's not just a conference proceeding alone, but a conference proceeding indexed with UGC CARE list, Scopus, Web of Science, or PubMed. I think you'll be able to understand the meaning of this. 3.4 is about extension activities, not much related to research, but you can go through this later. So I'm not touching this. But 3.5, collaboration, is given 20 marks. The number of collaborative research activities, number of collaborative faculty exchanges, student exchanges, industry internship related to research especially, is given 10 marks. And the number of functional MOUs with any institution within India or in abroad related to academic, clinical training, internship, on-job training, project work, student faculty exchange, collaborative research programs, all this put together is given 10 marks. So 3.5, collaboration is one of the important areas related to research. Now I have touched some important aspects of NAC. I think you might have got some idea, but whenever you have time, you can go through this presentation, or you can directly go through the NAC document as well. And the third important accreditation is about NBA. And within this NBA, criterion 5 has a heading called Faculty Information and Contribution, in which research is given more importance. There are many sub-criterion among this criterion 5, out of which 5.6 sub-criterion is about research and development, for which 40 marks is given. Under this 5.6 sub-criterion, 5.6.1 academic research is given 10 marks. Again, the number of publications, not just publication alone, quality publications, especially with refereed journals, science citation index, citations, books, book chapters are given weightage, as well as number of PhD students guided or PhD awarded by the faculty members working in the institution are given weightage, for which 4 marks are awarded. Again, under this research and development, 5.6.2, sponsored research activities. Sponsored research activities, as I have said in the initial slides, sponsored research or funded research means which are mainly from the governmental agencies like AICT, UGC, like ICMR, DBT, DST, like these sort of governmental agencies mainly. So which is given 10 marks. And other than this, consultancy work carried out by the institution. This consultancy work mainly provided by the industry is given 10 marks weightage. And as I have said in the initial slides, it's not just alone the consultancy work from the industry, sometimes without the terms of money. Sometimes the institution or the faculty members may be involved in honorary consultancy activities offered by some central government organization, state governments, local governmental organization as well. If they are well documented and if they are related to research, it can be still giving some value for faculty information or contributions. And last is the developmental activities, something like any new product developed by the institution or by the faculty or by the students, any specific research laboratory promoted by the college individually, any instructional research, instructional material related to teaching, learning, or even for research also will be given weightage. Any new working models, some charts, scientific charts, some monograms developed by the institution or by the faculty or by the students also contribute to the developmental activities. Some of these are related to research, some of them are indirectly related to research. So in the past few slides, I have touched how research is related to NIRF ranking, how it is related to NAAC and NBA accreditation. I'll move to the next one. And it's all some theory here. What is the meaning of a researcher profile? What is the definition of it? What is the use of having this research profiles? As you can see, a researcher profile is nothing but an individual internet profile, which is user-friendly and efficient way of showcasing your research work. If you have a researcher profile, it will showcase your work to the world. It will manage your publications effectively. It will help you in identifying a potential collaborator. If you have your own researcher profile, it will avoid misidentification, because in the same name, there may be many researchers throughout the country or throughout the world. It will enable your research output to be identified by a potential employer or by an organization so that your job prospects may improve. It may improve your citation counts, because once you showcase your work throughout the country or throughout the world, people will only then look into your data and they may cite your work as well. So if you want to get good citation, then you need to create many researcher profile for you. You will get reputation by your own employer or by your own organization. And whenever your research profile is kept in your website, it may be verified or it may be checked by the other organizations as well. So it is very important for you to create your own researcher profile. And these points are also in connection with the previous one what I have said. Most importantly, there is a tough competition going on in showcasing which institution is doing well in terms of research. Not only competitions between institutions, but also competitions are going on between one individual researcher with another individual researcher within the country or throughout the globe. So, with increasingly competitive research and scholarship environment, if we want to distinguish ourselves with someone else in the country or throughout the globe, it is very important to showcase our research activity correctly. So if we want to showcase this data within the country or throughout the globe, it is very important to create a researcher profile. So what this researcher profile does, it brings all your research outputs together, and then it showcases all your research output through one platform to all those who are related to it or who wants to know about it. So your researcher profile pulls all your research and publication together in one place so that problems can be avoided and more visibility or more impact can be given for your research. So we need to create a researcher profile. And again, this is a very important point in my presentation, which I want everyone to focus. I have listed some of the reputed or common researcher profile databases. Some of them are known to you, or some of you may have all this already with you. One thing which is related to India, Government of India, which is now emphasizing that any faculty member has to create a researcher profile with a database called Vidwan. This database is maintained by Ministry of Education. So this I want to emphasize here. Along with Google Scholar and along with ResearchGate and many more. With respect to India, every one of us, the faculty member who are listening to this, take a note of this particular database Vidwan. And most of you may be, or some of you may be aware that when you nowadays apply for any research grants, some of those research proposals also ask for Vidwan registration number or Vidwan registration profile to be active. Only then your research proposals can be submitted. This is already there in the practice, but maybe soon for every single research proposal submitted to any governmental agency from now, will definitely emphasize the need for this Vidwan ID if you are applying for any granting agencies. So note down this Vidwan. Of course, the other common reputed researcher profile databases are Arcade ID, Google Scholar, which most of you will be knowing, Scopus Author Identifier, that is Scopus ID. And there are three important terms which are used: Web of Science ID, Publons ID, or Researcher ID. So make a note that all these are in terms are integrated together. That means they are more or less same. Web of Science ID, Publons ID, or Researcher ID. Since all these three are integrated, the term or the ID is one another the same. And of course, most of us will be knowing ResearchGate, and we may have a profile on this also. Academia, so very close to that of the ResearchGate. And one which is very common throughout the world is Loop. You can check for Loop author profiles. When you search in Google, search for loop researcher profile. So you will get to know what is this loop. And there is something with NCBI, Europe PMC, and most of us don't consider LinkedIn as one of the research profile databases. More than Google Scholar and ResearchGate, throughout the globe, LinkedIn also is considered to be one of the important research profile databases. So don't omit LinkedIn site. So also take into account of this. And you may have a question whether I need to have any one or two among this, or I should have all these research profiles for me. So the answer is very simple. It will be better if you create your individual research profile in all these databases, because some ranking agencies or some accreditation bodies, some universities or colleges, they look into most of this, or they may look only into some of this profiles. So again I repeat, it is advisable, or it is advised, that we need to create our researcher profile with almost all this databases, especially Vidwan, LinkedIn, Scopus, Web of Science, Publance, and Researcher ID. And of course, the other databases as well. Again, I am saying, on my personal opinion, some of you might have known the importance of other research profile databases as well. If you have that information, you can share in the database now itself, or whenever you have an opportunity to share these sort of information with your fellow faculty members, students, research scholars, also do that. So other than this, if you have some of these databases name, kindly type in the chat box. Okay, now coming to the last part of my slide. I have asked this question before. We speak more about research. Some of us are involved in research. Some of us have a good publications, patents, everything. But the question remains still unanswered. What is the impact, or what are the true benefits of doing this research activity? And how do we measure this, or who will measure this? So I said, in my personal opinion, I have an answer. And I have kept these three photographs in my earlier slide. And then I asked you, like, can you identify these researchers or these three personalities? And I was sure that most of you will be able to identify two of this personality. But luckily, one man has identified the third person. And as you can see here, you find Dr. Bijoy Matthew. First, let me tell why I kept his photograph here. Actually, I want to say that I kept the photograph these three persons without their permission. But I kept this photographs for one purpose, that to correlate the significance of research through their profiles. Only that was my intention, not any other. So I think even if they come to know that I use their photographs, I think they won't take it. Otherwise, they will, I think, they will support my purpose. So now, Dr. Bijoy Matthew, his specialization is pharmaceutical chemistry. The reason why I kept his photograph here is, what is the impact, or what is the true benefit of doing an academic research or a quality research activity? To my knowledge, when I got introduced to this person, he was working for a college, a private college, pharmacy college, and now he is working for Amrita University in Kochi. The reason why I kept here is to tell what benefit, what I see in his profile. Because of doing quality research from a private pharmacy college, now he has moved to a top ranked private university in India, Amrita University. This is one reason, in my personal opinion, I'm saying it's not his opinion or it is not his data. In my personal opinion, because of his quality research, now he has got an opportunity to move from a private pharmacy college level to a private university level. It doesn't mean that I'm speaking against the level of that private college. It is just to show that he has improved, he has moved to the next level. Again, it's my personal opinion. And you can find in yellow colors, I have highlighted two important words, communication and collaboration. In my personal opinion, why I consider him as one of my role model is that he's very strong in scholarly communication and he is very strong in research collaborations. I came to know about this person only 3 years back, only through Facebook. I never met him. I have never spoken to him, except for one time regarding a book chapter opportunity which was given to me by. Except that one time, I followed him. I came to know about him only through Facebook contact, but I learned his research impact through his Facebook postings. He is a true international research collaborator. He has a big research collaboration network throughout the globe. And through this research collaboration, he has got at least 2 patents. I can name, he has obtained one Korean patent through his research collaborators from Korea. And within last 3 to 4 years, I think he has published more than 100 collaborative research papers in the areas of computer-aided drug design or in silico drug design, those sort of areas. 100 quality publication. I'm not saying something in a ordinary journals. All these are science citation indexed journals. So the word communication and collaboration, what I mentioned, are the quality or the research attributes of this particular person whom I admire the most. So Dr. Bijoy Mathew is personally my role model in terms of communication and research collaboration. Second person is almost known to every one of you, is Dr. Chala Shiva Reddy, who is from pharmacology discipline. Now he is doing his postdoctoral fellowship in an US university. And the personal attributes what I admire or why I consider as one of my role model is the passion and perseverance towards research. I think as a faculty, you know what is the meaning of passion and what is the meaning of perseverance towards quality research. That means making use of all the opportunities, overcoming all the difficulties, barriers, whatever limited resources, whatever we have, but with passion for doing quality research. Now he has got an opportunity to do his postdoctoral fellowship in the areas of stroke. That means his area of research is stroke. neuropharmacology. He is doing it in a university, maybe University of Illinois, USA. So the personal attributes for which I admire him is the passion to do quality research and the perseverance for the research. And of course, it's also my pride to showcase the photo of my principal, principal of Bapatla College of Pharmacy, Dr. T.J.K. Murthy sir, from the pharmaceutics specialty. Again, being working for a private pharmacy college, but with this experience, with whatever resources he have, mainly through his PG project students, mainly through his PhD scholars, and by himself or with the support of his faculty. If he supervises or if he does some research activity, it will automatically mean quality. That's what I want to say here. So I can say in one word, whatever research he does, it is related with quality straight away. But when it comes to personal attributes, what I admire, I use the word integrity and I use the word innovativeness. Why I use the word integrity? Integrity means ethics. So whenever he does or whenever he supervises any work, he mainly focuses on the ethics part of it. Whenever I say professional ethics, this professional ethics will have quality within it. So integrity is one of the personal attributes of Professor T.J.K. Murthy sir when it comes to research activity. And of course, I'm not sure with the actual number of patent granted. It's not just published alone, granted. But I assume that he has 5 or more patents already granted in his name. It is all because of the innovativeness, the attribute called innovativeness. Innovation is something which we don't want to say that only if I work for a foreign university, only if I work for a governmental research institute. Innovativeness only when I work for a private or a government university. It's not these levels. I admire him personally that being from a private pharmacy college, and most importantly, as most of you will understand, along with many of his administrative duties as being a principal of this particular college, he not only is involved in research, he not only supervises research activities of his PG and PhD students, but he regularly takes courses for B Pharmacy as well as for M Pharmacy. That means at any given time, he teaches one course for B Pharmacy program and he teaches one course for M Pharmacy program, as well as he supervises PG and PhD research activities as well. So with all these administrative responsibilities, if we can bring out this innovativeness, for that reason, for quality, which is inculcated in ethics in terms of integrity and innovativeness, I consider personally as my role model. So Dr. Vijay Matthew, Dr. Shiva Reddy, and Dr. T.J.K. Murthy sir is my answer or my personal answer for the question what I have asked. What is the impact or what is the true benefit of doing a research activity and how do we measure this? So I think the second part of the question, how do we measure this? These people are measured in terms of not their positions, what they are holding, not the institutions in which they are working. It is they are being measured by their personal attributes. That is why I take the freedom to say that these three people are measured by their personal attributes related to research. I think you may agree on this. And last point, and I want to acknowledge my college, Babatla College of Pharmacy, which has given me an opportunity to explore myself, the freedom to communicate whatever is there in my mind. So, to Babatla College of Pharmacy as well as to the Babatla Educational Society, I'm very much thankful for the opportunity. And the question what I had on the second slide, what is the real impact? What is the real benefit of doing an research activity and how do we measure that? This question was asked by Dr. Samuel of Charles Stewart University. So I acknowledge him for the question which I have taken for this presentation and some lead points on why we need to create the research profile. I have taken it from University of Canberra, and of course, though I have not taken their permission, but still, with due respect to them, I want to thank Dr. Bijo Matthew, Dr. Shiva Reddy sir, and Dr. Murthy sir for making use of their names or profiles for their presentations. So I have given the link here. Maybe we can see what is their profiles. Sir, if you can give me just another 2 minutes, I will just open their database. Can I do it? Gopinath
Yes,
sir,
okay, proceed.
just 2 minutes alone.
Okay, proceed.
Yes, sir.
Proceed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Okay, I think everyone is able to see this. I'm loading the Arcade ID profile of Dr. Bijo Matthew. You can see here 51 scholarly articles are listed in this particular page alone. There is many more to this. All this you can see. I think you are able to see. All this are from reputed publishing house or from the SCI indexed journals. You can see a long list. If you carefully observe the journal's name, all these are reputed journal and almost everything has more than one impact factor. I said more than 100 research papers in SCI indexed journals in the last 3 to 4 years. Most of them are collaborative research papers with scientists or researchers throughout the globe. So the reason why I'm showcasing here is try to collaborate with the researchers throughout the world so that you may get some good publications as well. The second profile, I think everyone is able to see, is the profile of Dr. Shiva Reddy sir. 33 papers, all these are in reputed journals. And within last 2 years after he joined for his postdoctoral fellowship, he has presented or he has published some excellent research papers in elsewhere journals. And now I am presenting the database of Professor T.G.K. Murthy sir. A long list, I think more than some 200 papers. Most of them will be of record quality. both through the PG as well as through their PhD scholars as well as his individual work as well. So search for all these names. It's not just to show their profile, that when you periodically update this research profile after creating this research profile, as I have told you before, the research impact or your research identity will be improved. Most importantly, when you have created many researcher profile after publishing some quality research papers, the citations also will improve. So this is one message which I want to share. I don't want to mean that if you create many profile, your citations will improve. Of course, citation count is also one of the tools to measure the research impact or to provide research identity for a researcher. So this is one thing which I want to share. And I want to share one more thing. Through Gopinath sir, I will be sharing this Word document. I think you are able to see a Word document in which individual boxes are given.
Yes, yes.
So these boxes, what do they mean is, these are the column headings taken from an Excel sheet which I personally maintain. So you can take these headings and then you can create an Excel sheet, and periodically on a day-to-day basis under this column headings, keep on updating your contents related to research. For example, you are able to see professional developmental activities. You can see the second heading, published papers in journals. You can see articles or chapter published in books. You can see abstract or full papers published in conference proceedings. You can see academic research activity, that means UG, PG or PhD work which you have supervised. Consultancy or sponsored research activities. Honorary consultancy activities which I have spoken earlier. What sort of research guidance you have provided? Maybe B Pharmacy level project you have supervised, PG projects you have supervised. If you are a senior faculty and if you have PhD supervisorship, so the details regarding what research guidance you have given, and the papers you have presented in conferences, seminars, workshops, symposia, not only at the national level or at the international level. Sometimes being an expert, you might have been invited to deliver a lecture, or you might have chaired some scientific sessions in the conferences, workshop, or many other events. So I have given you some column headings by which you can document it. I will be sharing all these documents through Gopinath sir as a part of my lecture. These things, if you update it on a day-to-day basis, it will be very helpful to update your CV, resume, or whenever you apply for a grant, you can take the data very easily. It will be very helpful to provide this consolidated data to your institution very easily. It will be very helpful at the time of accreditation or ranking purposes. So for many things, it will be very useful. And lastly, I have one more to showcase, which most of you may be expecting, that so I am sharing one important thing that most of us or some of us may have a confusion, or we may like to know what are the pharmacy journals which are indexed under the term SCI. Science Citation Index? Or what are the pharmacy journals which are indexed under emerging science or science citation index expanded? And now recently third category, emerging science citation indexed journals. Sir, you are able to see the screen, sir?
Yes, yes. Yes.
I will just show it here. You find a long list of journals highlighted. I think for those who are seeing in the mobile, it will be very difficult. I'm zooming it. You can see a long list. You will be surprised there are around 7,000 journals listed in this Excel sheet. You are able to see the Excel sheet, sir?
No, no, no.
You are not able to see. Okay, okay, no problem. So now, what I will do is, I will share the three Excel sheet in which clearly the science citation index, SCI indexed journals, science citation journals with in the expanded index, their abbreviation, journal abbreviations, as well as most importantly, very recently, or the another important category is the emerging SCI indexed journals. So I'll be sharing with you 3 Excel sheets and 1 Word document at the end of this presentation through Gopinath sir, which will be very helpful to everyone who is listening to this. Just what you need to do is in the 3 Excel sheet, type PHAR, pharmacy or pharma. You will find in that row the names of that particular journals. My personal recommendation is try to publish your work only in any of this journal listed in this 3 Excel sheets. If you do so over a period of time, each one of you will be able to obtain the required research impact, or you will be able to get research identity. So with this, I complete my session. I think I have given some idea. Sir, that's
Thank
all.
you very much, Dr. Satish Kumar. Thank you very much.
Sir,
Very elaborately, starting from the creation of the research profile and knowledge, NIRF ranking, NBA, NAC, and citation index and impact, and a very useful session for the especially all the faculty community. In turn, they will go back to the respective colleges. They have to take this session to the all the co-faculty members and incorporate these techniques to the students of the PG, PhD, as well as the even PhD students. Is there any questions, please, from all the faculty members?
sir, I find
Okay, we'll send the mail.
Sir, I find senior faculty members here, those who have more than
Yes.
or more quality publications than me, but my idea was only to express my personal opinion and for those people who are not aware of certain things, just to give a glimpse of all those things.
No, it is because teacher should be always in the ever learning process. Teaching should be an ever learning process.
So, sir, as I said,
today can be some of the updated.
Yes, sir, tell me, sir.
No, even you have to update ourselves in the new technology, new methods from our students. Those are doing the research in the US and other countries.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is not the age here. And we gave the excellent talk. Okay, if there are no questions, I will give the vote of thanks to the Dr. M. Satish Kumar by Sailaja.
Sir, just a moment, sir. Sir, just a moment. Many of the participants has requested for the files.
Okay.
as I told you just now, I'll be sharing all these 4 files, that is 3 Excel sheets containing the SCI indexed journals, abbreviation of these journals, and emerging SCI indexed journals, as well as that Word document template in which how to record all our research activities. That sheet also, without fail, I will be sharing. Actually, I wanted to add in the Zoom chat itself, but because I have taken some 10 minutes more, I don't want to disturb the setup here. So I will be sending the mail
Half
to
an
you.
hour.
Oh, half an hour more. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Please send the mail. We will attach to the all the participants.
Sure, sir.
And again, session will be the 2 o'clock. All the participants, the next session will be there in the 150, the 210. Okay. Or sharply by come by 220. Shailaja, please give the vote of thanks to Dr. Satish Kumar.
Yes, sir. Sir, finally, I take privilege to give vote of thanks to today's speaker, Dr. Satish Kumar Garu. Sir, thank you, sir, for your valuable session on topic creation of researcher profile for maximizing research impact and identity. Sir has covered points like impacts and benefits of academic research outputs, college and university rankings, national institutional ranking framework, NAC Health Scientist Criterion 3, NBA Pharmacy Criterion 5, and researcher profile. Sir, as faculty, we will try to assess your studies to follow whatever you have suggested. Sir, thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Shailaja. And
Thank you,
once
sir.
again, thank you very much, Dr. Satish. We'll invite
Thank you very much.
and all the part. Thank you, thank you. After long time, you were meeting here with a Zoom.
Yes, sir.
And my dear co-faculty members, please join the next session by the 2:20. Thank you very much. Can I end up the session?